Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant Show. I'm your host, Rebecca Whitman, helping you go from burned out to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. And today we have an amazing guest in the studio. Welcome to the show, Tricia Brouk.
Thank you so much for having me, Rebecca. I'm super excited to be here.
It is so great to see you again. I had a chance to be on your show, I think it was like a year and a half ago. And this has been such a long time coming. And I've been like, I can't wait to interview you. So here we go. Let me tell my audience a little bit about your amazing background. So Tricia is an award-winning international director. She has worked in theater, film, and television. She's also an expert in public speaking. She has produced TEDx Lincoln Square and Speakers Who Dare in NYC. She's also choreographed Black Box on ABC, The Affair on Showtime, Rescue Me on Fox. She's won a Golden Thumb Award for John Turturro's Romance and Cigarettes. She directed the series Sublets, which won the Best Comedy at the Vancouver Web Fest. And she hosts the Speaker Salon in NYC and the award-winning Big Talk podcast. She has been awarded top director by IAOTP. You know, I've been awarded by IAOTP too, so we have that in common.
I know, they're a great organization.
Oh, they're so great. So let's get into it. You have such an interesting story. How did you get into Hollywood and then segue into speaking? Tell us your story.
Absolutely. I'm from a small town named Arnold, Missouri, and I always knew I was going to move to New York City to pursue a career in dance. And that's exactly what I did. I moved to New York when I was 20. I danced all over the world. I danced with Lucinda Childs and Baryshnikov, danced at the Paris Opera, the Lisbon Opera House, the Vienna Opera House, Brooklyn Academy of Music, Lincoln Center, and then wanted to transition out of dancing and move into choreography and directing. So I retired my dance career and moved into being on the other side of the table. Started working in film, television, and theater as a choreographer, and then moved into a director and started producing and directing my own musicals and plays and documentaries. And then a friend of mine asked me to direct her TED Talk, Petra Kolber. She's an amazing thought leader. And I worked with her just like I work with actors. We worked on choreography and blocking, script analysis, intention, and I essentially directed her like I would a one-woman show. And it was such a uplifting, fulfilling experience being able to work with somebody who is a thought leader and who wants to speak. It was really fun for me. I didn't really think anything of it, and she planted the seed. You should really do this. There are people out there who need speaking support. And I had zero online presence. I was not on Facebook. I was not on Instagram. And I realized I had no credibility as somebody doing this because I wasn't doing it. So I started a podcast to talk about my process as a director and as a producer and as a storyteller. And then I founded the Big Talk Academy. And then all of a sudden I had all these speakers coming to me who wanted me to support them and no place to put them. Well, as a seasoned theater director, what I do well is produce shows. So I got my license to produce TEDx Lincoln Square in New York City. I produced that show for 2 years, moved out of that into Speakers Who Dare, and then started supporting people globally with the Big Talk Academy. And I have been able to support thousands of people onto big stages in the last 7 years. They have gone on to speak at countless TED stages, but also Davos, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations here in New York City, Google, Microsoft. They have spoken all over the world. And it is truly a gift to be able to unite humanity through speech by teaching people how to effectively communicate.
Beautiful. That is such a beautiful story. I really believe in having multiple careers and multiple streams of income, and life never gets boring that way. So I love that you're doing that as well. So how has your background as a director shaped your approach to coaching speakers?
My job is to create a safe space so that the truth can be played. If I'm in a room with an actor and they're playing a scene with another actor and they're not in the moment, they're not being authentic, we as an audience can pick up on that. We can read it. We might not know why, but we don't trust what's happening. It's the exact same thing when you're on stage speaking. If you are not being your authentic self, we feel the disconnect. We feel it's incongruent. And so what that means is we might believe what you're saying and we might actually think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but we won't trust you. And that is because you are not playing yourself. You are not playing the authentic version of who you are in the moment. And so my job is to create a safe environment for my actors and my speakers so that they can get to the truth of what it is they're communicating in the most effective and authentic way possible. And I use the technique objective and action when I direct my speakers. What is it that you want from your audience? That's your objective. How are you going to get it? You obviously want your audience's attention. That's the most obvious. And you have to play an action in order to get it. And I'm going to explain that in a second. But the good news is we as human beings, we work with objective and action every single day in our lives. You want your kids to go to bed? That's an objective. How are you going to get them to do it? You play an action. You want your partner to take out the trash? That's your objective. How are you going to get them to do it? When it comes to your kids, your action might be storytell. It might be take them. It might be beg them. If you want your partner to take out the trash, your action might be nag them, ask them, or perhaps seduce them. And this is the same thing when you're on stage. If you want your audience's attention, you need to inspire them. You need to motivate them. You need to ask for their attention if they're not giving it to you. And if they're not giving you what you want, you have to change your action. So if the audience isn't giving me their attention, they're on their phones, they're talking to each other, I'm going to play an action that's going to get them to give me their attention. And that could be simply wait. That would be the action.
I love it. I remember because I was a SAG actress a while ago, 6 whole months ago in LA. No, I'm just kidding. But it was intention, reason, and objection. And how do I feel about the other person? And are there any buts? So it's like, what would be some objections? You already mentioned a couple that you would have to overcome as a speaker delivering an intention to an audience.
Well, if an audience isn't giving you what you want, which is their attention, or if you want them to shake their heads yes, or if you want them to uncross their arms and be more open to what it is you're saying, you need to relentlessly go after what it is you want. And that means if you want their attention or you want them to nod their head, you can say something that they agree with in a way that inspires them to think differently, and they're going to nod their head. If you want them to uncross their arms, you could potentially cross your arms while you're saying something and then open your arms, and they're going to mirror you subconsciously. So there's always a clear intention of what you're going after. You can't just hope to deliver a good talk, a good big talk. Just like an actor, you can't hope you're going to be in a good mood every time you go to work. It's a job for actors. You need to understand that you have to play your objective and your action so that you are fresh every single show, because that audience is seeing you for the first time, even if you've done 150 shows. Same with a speaker. You may not have a good night's sleep. You may have had a fight with your partner. Life is life, but it's not their problem. It's your problem. So playing this technique of objective and action, it keeps it fresh and it makes it not about you ever. And it's always about the audience.
I think that is such a good point, Tricia, because it's like, if you're in your head, you're dead. If you make it about yourself and the lines and memorizing and how am I coming off, that creates nerves. But if you focus out on the audience, that will help you put the energy away from yourself and onto them. Do you have any tips or advice on how to focus out when someone's feeling nerves?
It's all about service. And
Mm.
coexisting with fear is really, really important. If you care about what you're doing at all, you will always have nerves, and your body will always, trust me, I've been on thousands of stages since I was 7 years old. Your body will always physiologically betray you if you care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you learn how to coexist with that physiological response of butterflies, sweating, dry mouth, shaky hands, shaky knees, what you need to do is rehearse under mild pressure. Deliver the talk to your family. They're going to love you no matter what. Deliver and then increase that pressure. Deliver the talk to a group of colleagues. And what this does is it creates a confidence competence loop. So you have been able to coexist with the fear and to deliver the talk when you have a physiological response. And so you now have the confidence to know that I can do this. And then you become more competent at doing it over and over again. And then increase that stress a little bit more by potentially delivering the talk in front of other speakers so that you keep upping your game. And that teaches you how to deliver the talk with a physiological response and have that confidence. Now, if you also think, what if I fall? What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if I said something that doesn't resonate? What if somebody else is saying it better than me? What if they don't care about what I'm saying? Again, like you said, Rebecca, that's all about you. It's
Yeah.
got to be about them. As soon as you deliver and you're serving that audience and you're giving them the gift of your beautiful idea, your amazing thoughts, and you're generous with how you are sharing it in service of them, you will forget about yourself. So it's got to always be about the audience.
That is, I like the saying, when in doubt, focus out. So you've heard so many TED Talks, you've coached TED Talks, you've, hosted a TED Talk. What do you think makes one TED Talk stand out from the other? What are some elements of a compelling TED Talk?
It's all about the idea worth spreading. If it is a talk that is disguised as a pitch for your business, that will land flat. If you are sharing an idea that is compelling and new and unique, and it is something that you care about, and we can feel that, and you get us to think differently about that idea, that is a compelling TED Talk. One of my former clients, the amazing Marie Elizabeth Molly, she's actually also featured in Big Stages, the documentary about my work that's being streamed now on Amazon Prime.
Wow.
She does a gorgeous talk that when we first started working together, she said, I want to do a talk about relationships. At the time, she was a relationship coach. And I said, let's not do a talk about relationships. Let's wait and see what comes. Something is going to come and it's going to be bigger than you think. She's an avid diver and an underwater photographer. So she got back from Cabo, one of her trips, and in our session, she was just catching me up on her personal life. And she said, yeah, I was just in Cabo, I was diving, I was photographing all of these incredible sea life. And, there was girlfish and boyfish and boyfish and girlfish, and the girlfish were impregnating each other, and the boyfish were holding the eggs for the girlfish. And I said, Marie Elizabeth, you just found your TED Talk. What sea life can teach us about gender fluidity. And the reason this talk was so important and is so compelling is because A, it's about relationships subtly.
Mm-hmm.
She also gets to use her skills as a photographer and show the images in her talk. So it's very personal. She gets to talk about what she loves doing, scuba diving. And the big, big point of this is when you deliver a talk, you have the possibility to change and even save someone's life. So now, especially, some young person can share this talk with their family and open up a dialogue that they might not have the courage to open up. So she is contributing in a huge way by delivering this beautiful talk. And it is my hope that young people will use this talk to open up a loving, kind, and amazing conversation with their loved ones.
That is such a great example. And she's been on this show, Marie.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's so
And it's when she was still focused on being a relationship coach. And I know she told me she was going to do a rebrand. So I am so excited that you guys know each other, and we are just all part of the same soul family, wanting to make a difference in the world. And I love when that happens. We are going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about how Tricia connects choreography to storytelling and public speaking. And we'll be right back. Thanks for watching the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant show. I'm your host, Rebecca Whitman. I'm interviewing Tricia Brouk. She has been an award-winning choreographer on major primetime TV shows. My question is, what is the thread of storytelling that connects choreography with public speaking?
I see choreography in everything because I'm a former dancer. And so when I think about the power of movement and the power of stillness and the power of intentional movement choices, just like a dance, I am blocking all of my speakers on a stage. And that means writing the blocking. You're an actor, you know what it means to block a scene. You know when you're walking, why you're walking, you know when you're sitting, where you're moving, you know when you're still. And that is the dance that I teach my speakers. So they understand that if they want to say something that is really, really important and they are stage right, they are going to walk center stage in silence, land, and then deliver that line. If they want to connect with an audience, they're going to walk down stage just a little bit. If they want the audience to feel disconnected, they're going to back up. If they want the audience to go on a journey with them, they're going to walk slowly from stage left to stage right, seeing everyone in the theater, everyone in the conference room. If you want to feel open and expansive, open those arms and lift through your heart. Every single thing you do on stage has an impact on that audience. So if you think standing in place and using a clicker and looking behind you at your screen and at your slide deck is acceptable, that's not great speaking. That's good speaking. And we create masterful and train masterful, great speakers here at the Big Talk.
Beautiful. You know, I went to a public speaking seminar taught by Ed Milet and Brenda Bouchard. And one of the things Ed Milet said is to slow the F down. You can cuss on this podcast, but he was saying that a lot of the people that he sees are walking back and forth so fast on the stage because they're dealing with nervous energy. And that is better than just, you know, clutching the podium for dear life, or like you said, staring behind you. At least they're moving. But he's like, slow down. It's okay to walk, but just like slow down and take in your audience. What do you think about that?
That's absolutely great advice. There are wanderers. They wander around the stage the entire time while they're talking, and it is nerves. And so what are we doing? We're watching them wander and we're thinking, what are they trying to do? Get their steps in? Or there's the shifter, somebody who's shifting from side to side the entire time because they're nervous. Or the sitting in the hip, person who's sitting in the hip, they keep shifting from side to side and sitting in one hip, or they keep slapping their thighs, exclamation point. I'm saying something really important, so I'm going to emphasize it by slapping your thighs. Every single thing you do on that stage, we are watching. Therefore, it's important for you to be intentional because you don't want us to be distracted by unintentional movement choices. So slowing down and determining the intention behind every time you move or every time you're still will create that masterful speaking performance.
And with a TED Talk, you have to memorize every word. It can't be channel. Because I know we talked about that when I was on your show. You're like, do you memorize or do you channel? And I'm like, I channel. So what would you tell someone like me who has not, I mean, I've memorized an acting monologue, of course, but I've not memorized a speech. Do you have any advice as far as connecting the physical choreography with the speech, or any other advice on how to memorize a TED Talk?
You said it perfectly. Memorizing a monologue is exactly the same as memorizing any kind of talk. And it means you have to repeat it over and over again. There is no way around it. It's boring. It's rote. It's hard work. it's heavy lifting, it's the bicep curls or the plies. So when it's time to memorize, you have to do section by section, chunk by chunk, and then go back. And if you're looking at your notes, you're not memorized. If you think you're memorized, but you keep having to glance down at the first line, you're not memorized. So it really requires constant rehearsal, constant repetition. And if you think you're memorized, you're probably not yet memorized. So keep rehearsing. And when you're ready to put down those cards and that script, start doing it as fast as possible, as well as in performance style. Because when you do an Italian run through, which is as fast as possible without any emotion, you want to just make sure the synapses are firing and you have all the words and you know exactly what you're saying. We call that an Italian, as you know, in theater. And that's because the operas used to put on shows and break them down very rapidly. So it comes from opera in Italy. So doing an Italian run through will also help solidify whether or not you are memorized. But this is the thing I want you all to know as well. Memorization does not mean you sound like a robot. Yeah. Memorization actually creates freedom and a playground for you to be able to be free and to go off book and then come back on book because you're so clear on what you're saying.
That's a lot of rehearsal and a lot of discipline to memorize. And you do a chunk, then you go back and you add another chunk, and there's no way around it. And I like the Italian speed read. Go fast, go slow, and then you can do it like with funny accents, right? Just to have fun and be playful. Like do your monologue as, Southern or New Yorker, British person. That all like makes the memorization less boring. So what would you tell someone? I know the entertainment industry is kind of really, it's slowed down. It's reinventing itself, but it's slowed down. Whereas the personal growth and the podcast and the coaching space has really like gained momentum. What would you tell somebody who is looking to branch out into a new career? Maybe they are in entertainment and they're looking to get into the coaching space or personal growth or podcasting, or maybe it's just someone else who feels like I want to add an additional income stream and I want to do something totally new. What advice would you give someone who wanted to like branch out into something different?
Well, the first thing I would say is if you want to only create a new revenue stream and you are jumping on the train of the personal development world, that's the wrong reason. If you want to help other people, and if you have yourself been immersed in personal development and you understand how to coach and mentor someone, then you have a lot of opportunity ahead of you. And if you understand that it is of service, then you're doing it for the right reasons. I have lots of colleagues who are friends of mine from the theatrical world. My dear friend, Antoine Magic Ramon, who was the first and only universal swing of Hamilton, he is now a speaker and has an online course and an in-person course that teaches people how to be swings, because that's not something that is taught in the liberal arts colleges.
What do you mean how to be swings?
When you're in the theater, there's a swing position and the swing person does all the other parts.
Oh.
So when somebody is off or gets injured, the swing steps in for any of those parts. So Antoine Magic Ramon was the universal swing for Hamilton, which means he knew every single part in that show and could get called in to do it all across the United States at any point. So he is now a speaker, and we have worked together on how he uses that story to teach people about leadership and to teach people about how to be ready at the last minute. So there's a huge market for performers who want to be speakers because you know how to perform. And I think that's a really, really great transition. But if you are somebody who is not in the theater, who wants to create a second revenue stream by using your voice and by speaking and by being in the personal development space, my first piece of advice would be get clear on your mission and your vision and your values, because knowing what your values are and making sure you're aligned with those values and that mission and that vision is going to keep you on track when you get confused about what you want to talk about or when somebody wants to hire you. Always come back to your values. For any of you who have been watching me outside of Rebecca's show and podcast, you know who I am. I show up consistently. I'm always in alignment with my values of inclusion, curiosity, respect, integrity, humility, and love. And I have not all of a sudden said, oh, I teach AI now, or I teach this now. I've never wavered from what I teach. It is performance. It is being a strategic advisor to thought leaders. It is how to communicate effectively to unite humanity through speech. And I am devoted to making it clear to everyone that all voices matter. We do not have to have the same opinions about things. We do not have to have the same opinions about politics. However, we do need to learn how to communicate with one another with dignity so that we can coexist and create a world of harmony and unite humanity through speech.
That's beautiful. I really like your big vision of uniting humanity through speech. What do you think makes an effective communicator?
Somebody who understands how to use credibility, relatability, and vulnerability.
Ooh, wait. Write this down if you're listening at home. Credibility. What's the second one?
Relatability.
Relatability and vulnerability. Okay, let's talk about each one. This is really good.
When you are speaking, you are the credible expert. You do not have to have a book. You do not have to have a PhD. You already have the lived experience. That makes you the credible expert. Many speakers come to me and they say, I don't have a book. I don't have a PhD. How is it that I can be the one to talk about this? What makes me, valuable? Well, it's your lived experience. That's why you're the credible expert. The second part of being an effective communicator is being relatable. And that means making eye contact. It means energetically connecting to your scene partner, which is the audience. You're in a scene with them. They may not be speaking back to you. However, you are in a scene with that audience. And that is why being relatable and looking at them, making eye contact, having that energetic connection, looking around the room, seeing everyone, making sure everyone feels seen by you. That's relatability. Also sharing personal stories so they understand who you are and they can relate to who you are based on some sense of where you grew up, what your belief systems are, what makes you relatable. And then finally, vulnerability. Now, this is a really important one because speaking from a stage does not mean that stage or platform is your therapy. That audience is not supposed to take care of you. You need to take care of them. So when you share vulnerably, if you share a trauma that has not healed, that is not fair to us. We need you to share from the scar, not the wound. And if you have emotion, it's okay, but do not become emotional, because when you become emotional, you rob the audience of having an emotional experience.
Why is that? Because I feel like when somebody becomes emotional, then the audience feels like they can become emotional too.
When the speaker becomes emotional, let's say they cry.
Yeah.
We're asking the audience to take care of us. Having emotion is different from becoming emotional. Have emotion. And as a masterful speaker, when you have emotion, that will give the audience permission to have emotion as well. But if you are becoming emotional and crying, what do we as the audience want to do? We want to take care of you. It's not
Right. When people say, it's okay. I heard from an acting teacher once that fighting crying is more effective than actually crying.
That's what I'm saying about having emotion. When emotion comes up and your eyes might well a little, or your throat might get a little tight, stay there, but don't go beyond that.
Ooh, this is so good. So I know you're a great storyteller, being there, you're a director and a producer and a choreographer. How do you tell a great story from the stage?
The first thing you want to do is accept the gift from the audience of their time and attention before you give them your gift.
Actually, we're going to pause. This is so good. I don't want to interrupt you. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then you'll have so much time, because I think that telling a great story not only makes you great as a public speaker, it just makes you great in sales. It makes you great in life. It makes you just a compelling person to have at a dinner party. So this is so juicy. I don't want to get it interrupted. So we're going to cut to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, Tricia Brouk, Hollywood producer, award-winning director, choreographer, is going to tell us how to tell a great story. Welcome back to the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant show. It's Rebecca Whitman, helping you go from burned out to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. Tell us, Tricia, how do we tell a great story?
This 5-part structure that I use with the Big Talk Academy is introduce a problem, paint a picture, share a story, yours or someone else's with permission, introduce a new idea, solve the problem with your new idea, and then the call to action. And within that 5-part structure, the paint the picture and share the story part means details.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an example. I went to dinner the other night. I had a great meal, and I came home and went to bed. Painting the picture means I went to dinner at Per Se in New York City, which is one of the French Laundry Thomas Keller restaurants. And when we walked in, the most incredible maitre d' with this amazing mustache seated us at our table. And the first thing they brought us was gorgeous champagne, because it was our anniversary. And then we had the most incredible caviar, and we looked out on Columbus Circle, and it was a gorgeous day in New York City. And then you go on to talk about the wine and the food, and you say, and while I was there, I felt such calm, and it was such an effortless experience to have this remarkable dinner with Joe, my amazing husband. And I gave him a card, and it said, holy shit, we're still married. And we laughed so hard. So the painting the picture is what's important when you're storytelling from the stage. We want the audience to be drawn in to the story so that we can't look away and we can't get distracted. We want to stay with you until the end of the talk, which could potentially be 45 minutes from now. So introduce a problem, paint a picture, share a story.
How do you introduce a problem? Like,
a keynote that I give is all about effective communication. And I start the talk when I deliver this particular keynote by saying, we are at a crossroads. And it is really important right now that we understand conscious leadership has to prevail.
Mm-hmm.
So we are at a crossroads. If we don't start being conscious leaders, we're going to have a big problem. And so that's the problem that I introduce. And then I talk about why, and I paint the picture of what happens if we don't have conscious leadership. And then I move into solving the problem, which is how to effectively communicate as a conscious leader. And then I introduce, and then I have a call to action, which is I want everybody in this audience to say, my voice matters. Stand up if you can and say, my voice matters. My voice matters. And then by the end, everyone is saying, my voice matters. My voice matters. And the whole room is saying, my voice matters. My voice matters. And then everyone understands the collective importance of conscious leadership.
That is so beautiful. So let me write these down. So the first thing is you introduce the problem, you paint the picture. What is step 3?
Solve the problem with your new idea.
And step 4?
No, step 3 is introduce a new idea. Step
Okay.
4 is solve the problem with your idea.
Okay.
And then step 5 is your call to action.
That is advanced what you did, getting everyone involved and talking. That is like next level stuff. That's amazing. So, number one, introduce the problem, paint a picture, new idea, and then is 3. And then you solve the problem and then a call to action. So how do you do a call to action without being salesy?
Well, my call to action was, if you're able, stand up and join me in saying my voice matters. And if you are selling from the stage, you want to inspire people to want to either buy from you or think like you, adopt your way of thinking. And that means you could say, going back to objective and action, you could say, I invite you to purchase my book. I
Mhm.
invite you to think about how your life will be different when you join this program and invest in yourself. So you make it about them. It's not buy my program, I'm amazing, work with me. It's I invite you to consider how your life will be different when you invest in yourself and join this program.
Beautiful. I love that because I feel storytelling is the new way to sell because people have become so sales averse.
Yeah.
When they feel they're being sold to, they want to push away. But people are still, because storytelling is in our DNA. We've been telling stories since, we were cave men and cave women around the fire. They get drawn into the story and then it just makes them want to be a part of whatever it is, whether they're purchasing your course or your product or just you as a talent. What do you think about that? Do you think storytelling is a great way to get over the sales repulsion that people feel?
Not if it's not just that. You can absolutely use storytelling to create trust. And this is why it's so important. We are in a trust recession right now. And so
Ooh, ooh, that's a tweetable. We are in a trust recession right now. Okay. I
and
love
I'm always building trust capital and relationship capital by
it.
being consistent. And when
Mhm.
I have a workshop, and I teach a free monthly workshop that is to build trust capital and relationship capital, and it's different every single month. And on that call, at the very beginning, I say, I'm going to make an invitation to you at the end of this before our bonus content. So I'm very transparent. And I'm also teaching a 2-day The Art of the Big Talk Business of Speaking masterclass next week. And on day 1, I'm going to make it very clear. I'm going to teach you so much value in the next 2 days. You're going to have everything you need to build out your speaker business. And I'm going to be talking about the Big Talk Academy during these 2 days. And I will be making an invitation to you on day 2 because I want you to be able to learn more, to have more, to go to the next level if that's something you want. But I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to, there's not going to be a bait and switch. I want to earn your trust. So that's why it's from the very beginning. I'm going to be making an invitation just so you know it's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to get down to work today and you're going to be able to learn more. And because of what I'm sharing with you today, you're going to be excited to learn more about what the invitation is tomorrow.
And that is building trust equity.
Yes, for sure. Trust capital, trust equity, all that.
Beautiful. So I know you curate speaking salons. When you are looking to curate a group of speakers, it's kind of like casting a play. You don't want everyone to look the same and have the same message and the same talk. What are some of the themes or archetypes that you look for?
Just like when I was casting shows or casting dances that I would have multiple dancers in, for me, it is never the same. And I am always looking for diversity. And so it just depends. It depends who's talking about what. It depends on who's applying. I hire speakers who have very little experience, who I know are going to do the work. and I hire speakers who have a lot of experience, who I know are going to be in community. That's something that's very important. It's one of my values. When I put a show on, it's not you show up, do your thing, and then go home. You show up, you're in community. I create an arc. So I've got an opening who I know is going to crush it, and then the story of the other speakers, and then my closer. So the audience goes on a journey by the arc of the show and the speakers who are speaking.
I want to come. When is your next speaker salon? That sounds like a fascinating show.
Well, the Big Talk Live is happening in March. So if you want to come to New York City for 3 days.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So the theme of this show is going from burned out and overwhelmed to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. I know you're super busy. What are some practices that you are doing in your life right now to stay out of burnout and overwhelm?
Well, I love this because many people say you're so busy, but the reality is I'm organized.
Ooh, yes.
And being busy is an energy that I won't step into because I have so much to do in this very short, precious life.
Mm-hmm.
And how I stay organized and connected to self and home is by having non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
I do not go out after 5 o'clock ever. If you want me to speak at your event and it's at 8 p.m., you know I'm going to say no. If you want me to speak at your event and it's in the afternoon, you know I'm going to say yes. And at 5 o'clock, I leave this office and I go out and I spend time with my husband and Eva Moon, our fur baby. I work out every day. I hydrate. I drink a gallon of water every day. I eat well. I have a robust meditation and journaling practice. And I also know how impermanent this life is. So I show up 150% every single day in my work, in any and all interactions that I have, whether it's the barista, the shoemaker, the florist in my neighborhood, my doorman. I show up 150% and I know that they have been seen by me and that they feel better because of our interaction. And that's how I stay out of burnout.
That is so beautiful. You know, you've seen me sipping on this, which is probably like a speaking faux pas, but it's challenging for me to get 96 ounces of water in a day. How the heck do you get a gallon of water in a day and not have to like run to the bathroom during all your busy meetings and rehearsals?
It's so hard to drink a gallon of water. I do it all in the morning. And then I will mostly be done with the bathroom breaks by about 11:30. But if I drink a half a gallon before I work out and then standing at the kitchen counter, drink the rest of it, it's hard. But man, it makes a huge difference.
And when do you do your meditation and journaling practice? Is that a morning practice or when do you do it?
First thing in the morning. Yeah, I am a morning girl. I don't do anything after 5. And my body clock shuts off around 4. So I'm really excited that you're here giving me this energy right now because it's 4:18 in New York City.
Yeah, well, I'm giving you a lot of energy because I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Me too.
So, and I thank you. And I know people are going to want to stay in touch with you and learn more about your awesome, all your things, your academy, your salon, your shows. Where can people find you online and how can people stay in touch with you?
For sure. Well, I would love to offer your viewers a free gift. It is a Command Any Room free masterclass. And if you go to triciabrouk.com/command, you can download this amazing masterclass that will teach you how to command any room you walk into using many of the.
Spell it out for them.
Sure. TRICIABROUK.com/COMMAND.
Perfect.
And I'm on Instagram at Tricia Brouk. I'm on LinkedIn, and you can find me at triciabrouk.com, my website. I'm also my podcast, The Big Talk with Tricia Brouk, and Big Stages is streaming on Amazon Prime currently.
I am going to watch Big Stages on Amazon Prime. That is so exciting. Congratulations on having a show on Amazon. That's huge.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant show. We are aligning our lives in 7 pillars of abundance, from spirituality to fitness to emotions to romance to mindset to social to financial. We are achieving through alignment, not the hustle and grind. Thank you for being a part of this movement, everyone. And until we meet again, keep your vibe high and magnetize. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.